And about the third time clapping, she turned to him and yelled at him to stop clapping, to stop being annoying. Alright, so my mom asked me a question, and that question was this. You work and you talk to teens and kids on PC, and you work with the kids at church, but you don't talk to many adults. Maybe you should start hanging out and beginning to hang out with adults more often. And my answer to that is I just don't. And it's actually a little bit more complicated than that, but I just don't. Maybe my answer won't satisfy a lot of people. There might be a few people that might get offended by this answer, but I just don't trust people. And I'm not the only one who also feels this way when it comes to adults. And I don't want to put myself in a position that also causes someone to either reject or emotionally hurt me. So what do? Well, I know adults, many of them. Not all of them are people who would screw me over, but many of them would, and the majority would. And they would say they wouldn't, but I see them and I look at them and I already know that they would screw me over. So why waste my time with them? So overall, this here is something that's probably going to make people go like, wow, that's not right. But many adults, and the majority of them that I know and I see and who I talk to, a lot of people that I see and work with, they suck. Adults just suck. They just do. I don't trust them, and if I do, it's like 5% of, if you were to have to put it in a scale of like percentage, like 1 to 100, if I were to trust anyone, it'd be 5%. And the reason why I don't say like 1 is because I do trust some adults, even if they were to screw me over slightly. But here's the thing. Kids and teens and young adults are still growing, they're learning, and I want to be an example of someone they can trust and know I'm for them. I'm with them, I'm learning also, and I'm not an ignorant bastard that would screw them over. Now, I just went to camp this past week or so, and one thing I noticed was the adults. Not just this camp, this year, but also other camps that I've been to. And many of these camps that I have been to have a lot in common when it comes to the adults of that camp. They refuse to give hugs. And actually, a lot of them did not want to give bear hugs. Now, if you notice, a bear hug is kind of like a big hug to a kid or a teen. And it's like a bear hug, you know, and it's gentle. For me, when I give like a bear hug, it's gentle, but at the same time, there's this trend going around when it comes to Christian churches and other organizations that we shouldn't even have contact with kids. We shouldn't give them a hug. We shouldn't, do anything, not even simply tap on the shoulder and have them turn around and look that direction and you kind of like fool them. You know how you tap someone on the opposite side and they look that way and you kind of laugh? There's a lot of places that don't even like that. Like no contact at all. This is before COVID-19. This is before everything that happened this past year. But they don't even want anything. They don't like fake punches, just fake punches, like play around. Anything like that. And I was at a church. Not the church that I go into now, but the church prior to this. And this kid was going there, and he was very negative. He didn't do much, and when he started talking to him, he would just sit there. He wouldn't do anything. But here's the thing. Every time I would see him, I would gently hit him, or tap him, you could say. Come over and like gently, you would call it like a massage. You would get your two hands and kind of like hit him on the back a little bit, Not hard, but just gentle, no. It was gentle to him, but it was contact that did it. And every time I would see him out, I would do it. I would gently like play around, tap him on the opposite shoulder, put my arm around him and like say, how you doing, man? So eventually this kid, literally the next time that I came to that church, he had a smile on his face. He would sit next to me. He would want to play fight. Like I would stand there and he would hit me and gently though, not hard. I would put my hands up and he would hit my hands, punch and whatever. I didn't care. As long as he was staying out of trouble, that was my priority. So the other leaders at the church didn't like the physical contact. They said that it needed to stop and we needed to follow the core values of the church. And one of the values was basically this: use your hands responsibly and not to hurt others. So even the play punch and the play boxing, they considered that hurting others. You need to keep your hands to yourself. No physical contact. You need to stop. You're leading a bad example. Blah, 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 this and that. You realize human beings need contact. That even if they visually see people, they need physical contact. That means a hug or playing. We are human beings. We cannot live in a society without contact. This rule, I should say, led to this kid not being able to even play fight. Even with me, kind of like a little bit of wrestle. And the very thing that opened this kid up to a relationship and even talking to him was being physical. Now adults, to me, and many of them, they just absolutely suck. And they honestly do. And many adults just refuse to understand anything about the youth of this day. Or even when it comes to relationship. So here's another example at the church that I go to now, actually. We had 2 basketball rims put up. So for the kids to play basketball and play with the ball and toss the ball around, okay? So, well, this older couple started to volunteer, and we had just put these basketball hoops up. You know, very small ones, like the ones that you would put up in your bedroom door. And these kids were tossing the ball, weren't playing basketball, were tossing the ball to each other, you know, keeping themselves out of trouble. They weren't on their phones and blah, blah, blah. They were just tossing the ball. And the older guy walks in and gets in the way a little bit, and the ball hits his glasses off. So this older guy gets upset, and he wanted the basketball hoops to be taken down. That those don't belong here. Those are gonna hurt people. Blah, 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 this and that. So having these basketballs allowed me and other young teens that were volunteering to connect with these kids. And you wonder why none of these kids can connect with these older people? It's because these older people, these boomers, refuse to get down with our level to understand how we are as young adults and teens and kids. These boomers refuse to even do that or even try to understand where we're coming from. And that's the issue. The old man who refuses to look at the good things. That's basically what he did, was he refused to look at the good things and how happy these kids were with the basketball hoops, throwing the basketball around and playing around and keeping themselves busy. But instead, blamed the kids for tossing the ball when it was his fault that he walked in the way. So this is why I don't like stubborn adults. They have no sense of humor in them working with kids. And if you're gonna be a tough bastard like that, you need to not be working with kids. Another example I want to give you is when we were in large group. And large group is when we just all kind of gather and we go into a lesson about the Bible and the scripture, and we learn to, you know, basically we're just being taught morality. But the pastor would tell the kids, you know, to clap at certain times. You know how like people would hold up the sign that says clap, you know, the kids would clap. And we did that like 3 times. So I had a kid in front of me. I was just really getting like a good relationship with this kid. This kid was quiet, he was hanging out with his brother, wouldn't talk to anybody. But I started to, you know, becoming physical in a sense with him. I started like tapping him on the opposite shoulder. I started kind of like, you know, nudging him a little bit. And he started doing it back. And I got this kid to go, you know, start talking, start playing around. And we honestly started talking. Even the older brother started talking. So during the whole large group thing, they would hold up a sign and say it's clapping. But his clapping was a little bit harder and a little bit louder. And when the kids would stop clapping, he would clap like another second after everybody else, you know. And for it was nothing. He would stop, you know. And well, one of the adult leaders, surprisingly a mother, kept getting annoyed by the kid because this parent was sitting next to him and really didn't understand him. But I think this is another issue that a lot of parents and volunteers have, is they just assume that every child is the same, when deep down inside every single child, they are different. The mental brain and way of thinking is completely different from every single person there. And this kid did not act like every single other kid. He had energy. He needed to get that energy out. But this mom got really annoyed by this kid clapping just a second after everybody was, and how loud it was and blah, blah, blah. And about the 3rd time clapping, she turned to him and yelled at him to stop clapping, to stop being annoying. So let me tell you this right now. I haven't seen that kid since then. I have not seen that kid since then. I'm gonna bleep this out. But this is honestly how I feel when it comes to adults like that. I f***ing hate the way adults are. This is why I do not talk to majority of adults that are around me, because they're selfish, prideful pricks like that. Because they get annoyed easily. Because they don't take the time to even look at a kid and try to get to know him. They get the glasses knocked off, even though the kids apologize to him. And they take away the fun activities for these kids. These are the adults, in my own opinion, that I have seen over the many years I've worked with kids through scouts, through the churches, and just with family. These are the adults that need to not be with the kids. I don't care how well somebody knows somebody. If you honestly get annoyed by someone clapping when they're told to, and you take away the fun activities for these kids because you got your glasses knocked off, when it was your fault that you walked in front of these kids, you need to not be in there. It's not the kids that are the problem. It is the lazy adults that refuse to get to know these kids. This is why I refuse to put myself into situations when I can have a good relationship with all adults. But the thing is that if I get in a relationship with some of these dick adults and I see them do something, I'm going to be extremely pissed off and I probably won't talk to them again. That's how serious I am when it comes to these kids. I don't even care who you are. I refuse to talk to many adults because of this. They are people who, if they treat kids in the way that they do because of something this simple, they would be the ones that would stab my back when I need them most. When it comes to really anything, these are the ones that I would feel that would turn around and stab me in the back. Easily annoyed, easily pissed off. So why would I put myself in a situation with the adults that get easily annoyed and mad? Adults are boring. They are. There's a reason why these kids can connect to someone that was born in the 1990s and not born in the 1940s. There's a reason. We grew up with electronics, we grew up in their lifestyle, and I can relate to these kids more than any other adult can. To me, so many of these adults are just politically crap. They accept these satanic groups like Disney and these businesses. They love listening to Christian artists that literally partake in a satanic ritual. Hillsong and Bethel, to be exact. They watch sports and get so much more excited for the Super Bowl instead of wanting to go out and preach the gospel. They say, oh, that's not for me, blah, blah, blah. That's not for me, I can't preach. But you can tell someone your favorite sports team for an hour. Thank you guys for watching. Hit the like button, subscribe for more. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Comment down below. That'll be the end of this video. Just my opinion on a lot of things. So,